Welcome to the Highly Original Podcast. I'm Joe Martino.
Michael Lioneri.
And we're back with episode 19.
19.
All right, good. So, man, I always forget.
19 of the highly original podcast.
Episodes, podcasts, content, and merchandise, and
coming soon.
Videos and parodies, and all the other things we do.
I think that was a great update. I mean, that just kind of summed up the whole update scenario we always got going on.
Oh, yeah, and ad reads. If you or someone you know has a product, business, or art, music they want to get out there, direct them to us, have them DM us, or contact us on our website, thehighlyoriginalpodcast.com. There is a contact section down at the bottom of the website.
There is.
You'll be able to kind of email us through the website there.
Right.
And DMs on Instagram are welcome too, as of now. I mean, maybe we'll change that later on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, and we'll set you up. We'll, as Mike always says, we got great deals.
We have fantastic deals, man. It's Black Friday every day here. Non-stop deals.
The deals never end.
They don't.
So, today, we have our nostalgic topic, something very near and dear to Mike's heart.
It is.
And something that I am somewhat indifferent about.
He is.
The WWE. So, because, honestly, Mike is really the expert on this one, guys. I'm going to have Mike give us the overview of what is the WWE, and then he's going to touch on the era that we're specifically working on, because as you're going to hear from Mike, WWE's been around for a while. It's still going.
Right.
But we are our topics here is from 2000 to 2019 when we do our nostalgic topics. So we're going to be sticking on an era from then that I'm going to let Mike define a little bit more.
Yeah, I can get into the nitty-gritty of it.
So with that, Mike, what is WWE?
So the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, which used to be the World Wrestling Federation, the WWF, which was actually an animal rights activist company, the World Wildlife Federation.
Yeah, with the
panda, yeah. But the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, is a professional wrestling company.
Did they change their name because of it?
They did. Well, Vince McMahon almost didn't, but he saw such a great marketing scheme. He said, "Get the F out of here." And he was like, "Wait a minute. Get the F out of here." The F in WWF.
Yeah.
And that was like the slogan, and then WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. He could have legally obtained WWF, but he said he had to go to court in England or whatever because that's where the company was based. But yeah, the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, is a professional wrestling. You don't want to be. I mean, there's a lot of good pictures of pandas with steel chairs, You definitely don't want to be the anti-panda guy, especially if you're Vince McMahon. Yeah. You're already in hot water.
Yeah, but so when WWE, when does this come about?
The name change of WWE came about, I think, 2000, maybe 2001.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Yeah, 2001.
All right.
And professional wrestling, for those who don't know, it's scripted, live performance. I mean, it's a good person and a bad person, man or woman. The female wrestling is popping and live today. It's probably some of the best wrestling that's going on right now, female wrestling, really.
Would you say it's eclipsed the male wrestling almost, or no?
I watch weekly, and I think I cheer more for the females, man.
Okay.
Go Bianca Belair, you already know what it is. See, I'm a fan over here. But yeah, professional wrestling, for those of you who don't know, it's no one's trying to trick you thinking it's real. It's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, however many people are in a match, performing, trying to basically dance with each other, trying to look like they're hurting each other for a whole audience doing combat. But in reality, they're really trying to keep each other safe. They're not trying to hit each other. They're just trying to put on a good show. It's all about entertainment. It's a lot of acting, primarily acting. Everything's off script.
Yeah, that's I mean, again, as we're gonna disclose, I'm not a fan of WWE.
Right.
But it's sort of a serialized story, right?
It is.
Kind of like recurring characters and feuds.
Yeah, man,
and,
long-term storytelling,
yeah.
really long-term
And,
storytelling.
like, in the past, like I compared it sort of kind of like a male soap opera.
Yeah,
Would
that's
you
something
say?
I
Is that like a fair.
definitely is fair. Yeah, I mean, I tune in every week to see like
'Cause it's,
the bloodline. It's
a bit corny and over the top. With
no,
the
it definitely
stories,
can
like,
be, and I'm biased because like I've had professional wrestling training, and my brother, and a lot of our friends, which like Mike Ryan. Shout out to Mike Ryan. We all shout out to ATK Alex.
Mike Ryan, who actually was featured on the podcast.
He was,
but he was not named.
He wasn't named. He's a mysterious guy.
He was he can be heard talking in a cold open though.
Yeah. Why do you guys even call it that?
Yeah.
Because it's highly original, Mike.
Yeah. So that was Mike. That was Mike Ryan.
Mike Ryan, yeah, Mike Ryan. Shout out to Mike Ryan. But yeah, we're actually like, we're not WWE superstars or anything, but we respect the art of wrestling because it's hard, like trying to look like you're really hurting each other. And there was times where I've been kicked in the face, and
isn't that? I mean, that's what I've heard. Like they can and frequently, not frequently, but it's not unheard of that the wrestlers do get hurt.
There's about like 8 wrestlers right now in the WWE alone out with injury. Yeah, like top
yeah.
guys. No, dude, like Edge. I don't know if you know who Edge is, but he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Had to end his career for 9 years because of a broken neck, and they were like, "Yeah, you'll never be able to wrestle again if you don't end up in a wheelchair. Like you can't wrestle no more." So it's definitely real. When you fall on that mat, when you fall in that ring, there's no give. That hurts. When you fall outside on the floor, that hurts. When someone body slams you, it definitely hurts, but the outcome is scripted.
Okay.
So a lot of time people say like, wrestling's real, people are fake, meaning like the characters are not real. The outcome isn't real, but you can't fake a lot of that pain.
They're physically.
Yeah, I mean,
performing.
I mean, you look at guys like Mick Foley. He's a legend, and he can't even walk anymore. Getting thrown off a 34-foot cage onto an announce table. You can't fake that. And just to kind of sum up real quick a synopsis. Essentially,
that's a good comparison. Like,
no, it really is.
Stunt work,
a lot of wrestlers become stunt doubles and stuff like that because they know how to fall. They know how to. It's crazy. Like your mind, when you fall, you want to protect yourself, but like when you're wrestling, like you got to fall hard and make that look good, And it's definitely tough, man. It's tough to kind of trick your brain into all that. But yeah, I mean, professional wrestling, WWE is essentially, for those of you who don't know, it's good and evil battling it out in a ring. It's to entertain everybody watching, and that's really it. A lot of the bad guy usually, talks crap to the crowd. The good guy ends up, he's losing a little bit in the beginning, ends up making his comeback. It's very, like, someone like you, it could be, I could see why it's corny, I could see why you don't take it as, like, with substance like I do, but I grew up watching it.
We'll get into my opinion, but I want to kind of go to, you mentioned, Vince McMahon. He's the founder of this.
And former owner.
Okay, former.
But founder.
He was the originator of this in the 80s.
Well, he bought the WWF from his father. Yeah. And then he...
my understanding, he kind of really aggressively consolidated professional wrestling because it used to be that the Midwest had its own league.
It was territorial.
The South had its own league.
It was called the Southern Territory.
And he sort of monopolized it. Almost.
Everything, and a lot of those guys wanted him dead.
There was controversy about that, right?
There was,
There was.
A lot of those guys that had those, like you said, like Midwestern territory of wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know.
They wanted,
but
everything everything everyone had a territory, and whatever their local cable airwaves were, that's what TV. You know what I mean? Yeah. It wasn't one brand. You know what I mean? It wasn't one entity all over the world, which it is now. I mean. And eventually all those other wrestling organizations just kind of put their white flag up and said, I surrender. This guy, he's doing crazy things selling out Madison Square Garden. But Vince McMahon, he was the founder, was the owner up until this year. Everything that happened went through Vince McMahon. If he didn't like something, it didn't happen. If he liked it, it happened. This guy, he could, people don't like him. but he was a workhorse, and he really, I mean, he came up with a lot of great content that really had a big impact on my life.
And I guess, like, from what I understand is, and I've seen clips of him, Vince McMahon was actually, there was Vince McMahon the person,
Right.
there was also Vince McMahon,
The character.
the WWE character,
Right.
and he kind of played like this maniacal businessman, evil corporate boss that was like really like mean to the wrestlers, and he was often like he often ended up getting his
he would always
he would get like beat the crap out of him
and live in front of everybody. People go nuts.
Isn't it kind of like, from what I hear, the character we saw might have not been too far off from like actually how it was, because I've heard there's a lot of controversy like how he treated wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I know he got in as you mentioned, hot water. There was some sexual misconduct with him, or no?
There was actually the investigation concluded,
okay.
and there was some hush money. He wasn't like sexually assaulting anybody, but he was having affairs without his wife knowing, and he tried paying like $14 million in like hush money.
Okay.
It's a very big complicated thing. It wasn't more so like him, like Dan Schneider, you know what I mean? He was more so just trying to like cheat on his wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's
because I had heard that when it first came out, and like
there was definitely
accusations. Like it was.
Yeah, there was accusations for sure, but most of them were kind of just proven to be untrue. But I mean, the character of Vince McMahon, the person, it depends who you talk, like who you hear from. You know what I mean? A lot of people
do say he was a ruthless corporate.
Yeah, he was. I mean, there's there's females and men that'll say like, oh, he's the best boss ever. He always lends an ear, really, loves what he does. And there's people that say like, yeah, Vince McMahon's the ultimate D-bag. I wouldn't trust him at all. Just people just don't like him.
I mean, I've seen like wild clips of him, like including like this, like 2 or 3 come to mind. Like one where he's like. He's getting his face like thrown into someone's like butt, like a wrestler's butt, as punishment.
Rikishi.
There's also one where I guess he's about to fight God.
Yeah.
There's a spotlight that just kind of shines through, and he's talking to God, and he's like the announcer's like, God has entered the ring.
Yeah, Vince McMahon versus God.
He's calling out God in like the way that these
wrestlers
do. And it's like, as someone who's not a fan, you gotta come on, Mike. You gotta like. No, it's me like I'm kind of like, what the hell is this?
And I think that's a lot of the lore is like, dude, you can go to these shows. And you can visibly watch these with your own eyes. You can watch the stuff unfolding. And it's like, you said it one time before, you were like, the WWE is its own, like, alternate universe. It really is, because if you go there live, dude, like, it's scripted and everything. But, like, Vince McMahon still called out God. Like, that was something you could have seen. And it's just wacky, and I think that's what draws a lot of people to it.
There's another one I saw where he's, like, being held down on a chair, and, like, 2 wrestlers are like putting shaving cream on him, and then Donald Trump is there, and he's getting shaved. His head's getting shaved.
Yeah,
by Donald Trump.
Battle of the Billionaires. That was a WrestleMania main event. It was Vince McMahon. He had his guy. He had Umaga.
Bizarre show.
It is. And whoever's guy lost the match, that billionaire would have to get their head shaved, and it was. Vince McMahon's guy ended up losing, obviously, because I don't think Donald Trump would have agreed to that. It's Vince McMahon's company, obviously, So, he did some wacky stuff, man. There was this one guy, and he was missing a leg, and he was a talented wrestler and everything, but he would, like, come out with a peg leg and all that. And Vince McMahon, at the time, was this evil, terrible boss. And this was the ruthless aggression era, which we're going to be talking about. It was like 2002, 2003. And all this guy wanted was a WWE contract. And Vince McMahon had an arm wrestling match with Hulk Hogan. And if Vince McMahon won, this guy wouldn't get a contract. And Vince McMahon's like rubbing it in his face. Like, oh, your dreams are shattered because of me. Like, he was just this maniacal evil boss. And he just something else, man. He was wacky, man. His character was nuts.
But to go on to the ruthless aggression era, just like real quick, like what is that?
Well, that is the era where John Cena pretty much ran things. John Cena became the face of the company. John Cena's debut match, Kurt Angle, a wrestler, he said, like, what do you bring to the table? And John Cena was like, ruthless aggression. And then he beat the crap out of him. And then that kind of ended the Attitude Era, which was through the late 90s. And it was really, raunchy stuff. And Vince McMahon was at his peak being his evil boss. Rivalries with Stone Cold Steve Austin and all this crazy stuff. Kind of transitioned into what became modern WWE.
More like physical, and less like
it was more
like trash talk kind of.
It was they try to go for a more realistic approach.
Okay,
like a sport as opposed to like
as
gimmicky, and it was still it was still cheesy and gimmicky, which is wrestling, but. You had guys like Batista come in, Dave Batista, who's great at, you know what I mean?
I mean, which someone wants to. So I guess, like, Mike, real quick, I want both of us to talk about, like, the impact of WWE, and for my case, the lack of impact.
Right,
WWE. Right. So, like, real quick, man, how would you say it impacted you as a child? And especially growing up in the ruthless era, because that's, it's like 2002 to like 2008 kind of range.
Yep.
So, that's obviously when Mike and I were like kids,
Right.
So,
I mean, it had an impact on me every way possible. I always wanted to be a wrestler. I always thought it was the coolest thing. I was aware that it was, not. I knew it was scripted and the outcomes were all, fixed and everything. Not fixed. Fixed would be like a boxing match where someone takes the fall. The outcomes were all scripted, and I just thought it was the coolest thing. Like, man. These guys, these girls, they have to not only perform and make this look real, like make a live movie scene look real in front of like 18, 20, 30,000 people, wherever venue they're at, and they have to act, keep a straight face, argue with each other. Like, you know how hard that is? Like
while they're saying
like
some
ridiculous stuff. Yeah, man. And I just loved it. I said, man, that seems like the best job in the world. You're on TV every week. You're acting. You're performing. You're doing physical, stunts. I loved it.
I mean, for me, I'd say like, I think what happened was, I was like probably a little too old when I first saw the WWE. So I turned it on, like USA Network or something. It was like what was on a lot.
Right.
And I watched like probably 10 minutes of it.
Really?
And I was like, this is the corniest thing. And I was like, how are they supposed to make me believe that this is real? Because, Mike, what I'm thinking is, I was too old to believe it was real.
Right.
But not old enough to be like, oh, this is for fun.
Right.
Like,
you thought they were trying to fool you.
I'm like 10. I'm like, This is bull.
Right.
What is this?
They don't got me.
It was like the same thing with like the show. You remember the show The Naked Brothers Band?
Yeah.
It was like that mockumentary on Nickelodeon with Nat Wolff.
Yeah. And that's actually a good comparison because it was.
But like for me, like when that came out, I thought they were really like trying to pawn this off as a documentary, and there was like a little kid on it, and he's like their manager. He's 10. And he's like, I just got off the phone with Steven Spielberg. And then I'm like 10. And I'm like, you're not talking to Steven Spielberg.
You're a little kid.
You're a child.
So,
like,
yeah.
So
like,
for me, like, I'm just like, I think that it was a bad time for me to see it.
Yeah, nice.
And then, honestly, like, in college, my friend had me and my other friend over. Our friend of mine we went over to his dorm, me and this other guy, to watch the WWE.
Yeah.
Because, like, we kind of talk about it. My one buddy that actually was there, like, he and I will occasionally, like, send clips of it to each other because we both, like, just think it's, like, I mean, like, we think it's funny, but for not the reasons you probably enjoy it.
Right.
You know, but we we got beers. We got all this set up special cable in the dorm room. You know, we had to get it. And for 10 minutes, we're watching people in Speedos and sunglasses, be like, so you think that you're the best in town?
Yeah,
I got something to tell you. All this stuff. And 10 minutes, we're like, yo, you guys want to watch a movie? We were just this is boring.
Really?
Yeah, man.
I mean, I could see when, you're not a fan.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, all the things you were saying, I do appreciate it. In a sense, I get why it's entertaining. It is it's kind of like a male soap opera.
Yeah,
it's for fun. There's action. There's comedy,
acting. Yeah,
and honestly, I really enjoy the wrestlers because I've seen interviews with them when they're not in character.
It's fascinating.
Some of the nicest people. They sound like real nice guys.
Right.
I love Dave Bautista.
It's awesome.
Guardians of the Galaxy and Dune. I don't know if you saw Dune yet. That was
no,
really
I didn't.
Good.
Yeah.
He has a small role in Dune, but the sequel, his character's going to be more involved. He plays the nephew of I think he's the main villain, the Duke.
Yeah, really?
The Duke of Harkonnen or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really cool. But yeah. So I think something that was the final thing I wanted to talk to you about, Mike, is I think out of this era, we really saw a transition of WWE stars to being, not just kings of the ring,
right,
but kings of the screen.
Right. Sure. Scorpion Kings.
Cena, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. For those of you guys who don't know, he was a wrestler
he was
probably
broke
most of his career. Maybe at this point he's been a movie star longer. I'm not sure.
Probably, yeah. I mean, that's still, man.
At least half of his career, he was a wrestler.
Yeah, that's how he made.
Now he's one of the most bankable movie stars out there. And who doesn't like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Exactly, he's a great guy. But his character back in the day was his heel, which is a bad guy. Yeah, right. Hey, what's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is. That was his thing.
Yeah, but
such a great guy,
I mean, I guess, yeah, so that's kind of something I don't know. If you have any thoughts on the kind of the rise of these movie stars?
Yeah, I mean, dude,
I'm not too familiar with Cena's work, but
he's
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Bautista.
Yeah,
I really like Bautista.
He's great.
Yeah,
right.
And I love The Rock too, but.
Dude,
I guess I like more of the movies that Bautista gets. The roles he gets.
I like how you say.
More interested in those.
I like how you say his actual name, Bautista, not Batista, which is his wrestling name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, real quick with wrestling, Vince McMahon
just shows how big of a fan I am.
Yeah,
because I had no idea there was a difference.
He didn't know.
Yeah, I just thought that was his name.
If Vince couldn't copyright your name, he would not. Your name would not be that on TV. It had to be his name, his property, and The Rock owns The Rock, and John Cena obviously owns his name, but for a while it was trademarked by Vince.
From my understanding, John Cena does not own his name.
I think he does now, but when he was a full-time wrestler, no, he didn't.
I heard he didn't mind.
No,
he had other wrestlers I think have had issues with it, but
right.
I think Cena was no, I mean he's really grateful.
He really is. Yeah, no, so. I'd assume he owns his name now, you know what I mean? Because John Cena's his name, but yeah, for a while he didn't even own his name. Batista, they changed it to Batista, so that's just something right there. But I think a reason why a lot of these guys break out into Hollywood and are so successful because, like I said earlier, dude, when you're in front of a live audience, imagine giving a PowerPoint in front of a class and you choke up a little bit, dude, and you feel oh, this is so embarrassing. Imagine being in a ring surrounded by 18,000 people every week, and you have to put on a show
in different cities too.
In different cities,
travels,
you're 365 days a week. You're traveling. It's maybe I don't know how many days off, but there's no off season with wrestling. It's tough, man. So I think guys like The Rock, great speaker. Guys like John Cena, fantastic speaker. They have to sit there and keep this crowd electric every week. I feel like that transcends onto a film set because they really know how to captivate an audience, maybe not a live audience, but that of a audience like viewing from a theater, home. And I think it all kind of relates to each other. It's all relative with each other, It's acting. The whole thing is acting. So these guys have, I think, the hardest training of all, the hardest acting training of all, Not saying a lot of like wrestlers are like great actors. There's some cheesy acting going on there, but that's a big part of it. But a lot of guys like Cena and The Rock, who had a great feud together, when you hear them talk to each other, you're like, whoa, are they like really, do they really hate each other? Or is this like storyline? Because they were saying some hurtful things to each other, and they were delivering the lines so, God, like just powerfully. Like it was just crazy. It was like watching a live movie with no cuts, with no reshoots, with nothing, just straight all the way through.
No, yeah, man. I definitely understand how like they would be prepared for these films, especially like kind of the more action films that they take on, because they're already essentially, in a sense, action
stuntmen, yeah,
like,
right.
But yeah, man, so that's why I wanted to kind of like touch on the WWE, and like I really think it's how it, in an unexpected way, because it was really pop culture phenomenon in like the 90s, 80s, 2000s, but I think, even though it wasn't a WWE, it has, from it, produced these pop culture icons in film and Hollywood.
Right. I mean, even Stone Cold Steve Austin, actor himself.
And before our next topic, I just want to say, hey, Dennis, how you doing? Shouting you out, buddy.
And this.
All right. So, Mike, for our last story, or last slip of the tongue there. Last topic. We're going to tell stories.
I like it.
What do you think of like a travel nightmare?
Travel nightmare.
Because I definitely have my travel nightmare.
I have one.
And because this episode is coming out December 17th, I will actually be in New York with some of my friends from Italy.
Okay.
That I studied abroad there in Rome with, including Parker Danks. As some of you guys might know, is P. Danks, musical artist from Austin, who has bought some ads on some of our podcasts. So
definitely has.
You might be familiar with his voice, but yeah, he features heavily in this travel nightmare.
Oh man!
Don't worry, he knows I'm gonna tell this story.
He knows about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just like how I said, Italy has a big part to do with my travel nightmare. You said you meet with friends in Italy.
Yeah.
My travel nightmare was in Italy. So I don't know if you want me to go first or if you wanna.
Yeah, no, you can go for it, yeah.
Alright, so shout out to my uncles. I won't say their name, for respectful reasons, but the three of us made a trip to Italy. And at the time, I wasn't legally old enough to drive a rental car. But hey, two old guys falling asleep behind the wheel, guess what? I'm driving the rental car. So we're trying to get to Sicily, and it was terrible. I've been driving at this point for like 7 hours.
Were you driving through Calabria?
Everywhere. Driving through literally the middle of nowhere.
Region, man.
Yeah,
Why don't you drove by my
there's a chance.
Ancestral villages.
There's a chance because we drove through a lot of like old villages that just looked like, and no one was living there. You know what I mean? So, but
people still live there.
where you're from, but there's a lot of.
My cousins there, man.
No. I'm saying like this was not. It was a great time. It was great views and everything, but it's kind of like a two-part story. I'll be real quick with it. We're trying to get to Sicily. We're trying to get to this hotel, and my eyes are starting to close. So we're just like, you know what? Like, I'm not trusting you two to drive. I'm pulling over. I'm gonna get a couple hours of sleep. So we pull over. This like really weird. I don't even know what it was. It's like off-road, like in Sicily somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and we all kind of doze off, and then I wake up to my uncle screaming, and it's crazy. Like, I pull over, but then I get out, I kind of stretch, I make a phone call. My uncle goes in the front driver's side, and he's like, all right, when we wake up, I'll drive in the morning. So I'm like, all right. So I sit in the passenger seat, I'm fall asleep. I wake up to my uncle screaming. My uncle, who's in the back seat, who funded this whole trip, was really respected. It was awesome. He had to use the bathroom, and he had to take a pee, and he was holding on to the car as he was doing so. And my uncle, who was in the driver's seat, decided, like, it's the time to pull off. We're heading out. And I just hear my uncle scream, and he just like flies with the car, and my other uncle slams on the brake, and I woke up to this scream of like terror. That was one travel nightmare. Another one was no, he was.
Did you have to drive with like?
No, thank God. I don't know. He was in the back. I don't know what he was doing. Nah, he didn't. He definitely didn't. But part 2 of that story, the next night, I ended up visiting some family, and we stayed at this hotel.
Yeah.
And me and my uncle ended up having a share, almost a twin size bed. It wasn't a king size, wasn't a queen size, but it wasn't a twin size either. It was close to a twin size. We had to share a bed. And I remember my uncle was so disappointed in my other uncle. He said, "This freaking guy doesn't even know how to book a hotel." And he's sitting there, and we're both like faced away from each other. I'm trying to sleep as close to the one edge as possible. He's on the other. And that was just a terrible night. Because old people, they have gas problems, Joe.
Nah.
And that was just a nightmare.
No, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if your story could top that. I think it will, though.
I don't know. I mean, so kind of early. This is early on in my study abroad in Rome. For those of you guys who don't know, I lived in Rome for a semester during my junior year of college. So early on, I met my friend Parker, and this probably maybe not even a month in, or maybe a month in. Parker's like, "Hey, me and such, or me and these people, we're going to Venice for the weekend. You want to come?" And I'm like, "All right." I was like, "All right." Parker seems to travel a lot. He might understand the hostel, like going to hostel. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna stay in a hostel." My understanding is like hostel is like you can kind of just show up and go in,
right?
And, so I bring my bag and my laptop. It was a heavy. This was packing some pounds on this laptop thing.
Yeah.
I'm traveling with it, and that's an important detail, Mike, because that'll come back. That came back to bite me.
Yeah.
So we head to Venice. It's beautiful. We had dinner. There's canals. There's all this beautiful architecture. I don't know if you ever went up to Venice.
Oh yeah,
over there.
Yeah, we drove through.
It's
beautiful,
stunning.
Really, you can't.
It's a triumph of humanity.
It really is.
This city that's in the water, So after we eat dinner, this is where things begin to devolve.
Uh-oh.
And we can't find a hostel. We're just kind of wandering the streets of Venice. It's nighttime, and I can't find the hostel. They can't, and eventually, I'm talking to him, and Parker is starting to talk a little crazy for my liking. He's like, "Oh, maybe we'll just, sleep on the street." I'm like, "The hell we are going to sleep on the street." He's like, what are you talking about right now? And I go up to this couple that's eating dinner, and they're American. I'm like, "Are you guys American?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Can I just use your phone to look for a hostel?" And they're like, "No."
Really?
And I think they did after that, because I just walked away. I was like, "All right," and they're like, "Sorry, we're just nervous because we don't know." They thought maybe I was a scammer. And that didn't really help. I couldn't find a hostel. And then also we encounter these two Belgian teenage girls who are backpacking through Europe for their senior year of high school before they go to college. And they found a hostel, and we're like, "Can we come? Can we go?" So we're rescued by these backpackers, these kids.
The last people you'd expect.
And we find the hostel, we check in, everything's all right. I guess. I mean, I'm kind of pissed off. There's actually a video Parker has on Snapchat where he's filming everybody, and it goes to me, and I'm just like, like shaking my head. So then, the next day, we wake up, we kind of had to get kicked out of the hospital. Because it was like, I guess we didn't have, we couldn't stay.
Right.
So we find a storage unit. So I'm like, things are getting bad. And this backpack's getting heavy. Because I didn't put it in the storage. I don't know, maybe I was being cheap or something. And we're going to, the center of town, where St. Mark's Basilica is. This beautiful historical basilica with all this famous art. And we get there, and I'm just I'm so pissed off at this point. Because they're starting to talk there's clearly no plan for tonight's lodgings. And I'm just all right. So I go through the basilica by myself, and I'm just so mad. I'm in this historical church, looking at this, ancient art, and I'm just like, oh wow, this is really great. Just
where are we gonna sleep tonight?
Storming through this church, that I should be looking at the,
right.
mosaics and icons and
right.
saints and stuff, but I'm just I am getting so mad. I'm carrying around this 50-pound bag, and I'm just.
I can see you.
And I go up and they're at the bell tower in the center. I think it's a St. Mark's Plaza or Piazza. And I just go up to Parker. I'm I gotta go back to Rome. I'm just straight up with him. I gotta go back to Rome. And I had to go find tickets. And I went to this Italian waitress. I'm begging her I'm how do I get a ferry out of here? And she's like, I don't speak English. And I'm just I'm so desperate. She felt so bad. She's just
yeah.
They're all concerned for me. But eventually I found a ticket, and I'm on the ferry.
By yourself?
Yeah, and I'm driving back to the train terminal, and it was then that I really enjoyed the beauty of Venice.
Yeah.
As I'm leaving it.
The comfort of knowing you'll be sleeping somewhere sound.
I was just and I was looking at the architecture, and I'll remember that just through the big canals, and I'm just it is pretty.
Right.
It is beautiful. And I did go on a gondola, we did this stuff.
Did they end up staying?
Yeah, they end up staying, and again, they just at the nick of time found the lodgings and stuff.
Oh man. But you weren't trying to do all that.
Yeah, I was I can't go through. I'm not going through that.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I like to know where I'm gonna be.
And I was just yeah. But that was my.
That sounds panicky, man.
My Venetian nightmare.
And I really liked how you said all this iconic art and mosaics, and
I could not.
You couldn't absorb it.
Could not have cared less.
And it's if you go back now, you would. But
there were plenty of times when I was, you
were more concerned
I got to go to Padua and see all these beautiful art and churches. But at that moment, no, I really.
Well, that's a lot of my trip in Italy was that. I was just why are we doing this? Why are we sleeping on the street? Meanwhile, there's just all this beautiful history around me, and it's man,
most of the time I did enjoy. I was in culture, and I was.
But when you don't know where you're gonna sleep at night in a different country, that's very I've been there. That's very aggravating to say the least. Because it's what are we doing? No one's planning this ahead. No one's.
Yeah, and I guess I really thought Parker knew what he was doing. Apparently he didn't. I mean, I love Parker. Again, I'm going to see him and some other friends in New York this weekend. So.
Would you ever let P. Danks convince you to go on another trip to Venice?
You know what? Yeah, I would.
You would?
I would, but it'd be a lot more planned.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot more planned.
He's just look, Joe, we're doing this no planning. He's yes.
No.
He said no.
But Parker's he's adventurous. He goes and
free spirit. Yeah, man. Nah, dude, that's what's up.
Yeah, I would definitely. I would do the return.
The return
to Venice. And how could I do that without Parker?
Right. No 50-pound book bag.
I think it would be interesting. Be interesting.
Something you have to document on camera the whole time.
But yeah, so that's what I wanted to share with you. I guess wrapping up the podcast today. The next episode is going to be our Christmas special.
Right.
And we got some stuff planned.
Yeah.
And a special guest who we haven't heard from in a while
Ooh.
might be returning.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're just gonna
Leave it at
a
that.
little teaser for the Christmas.
I wonder who it could be.
Yeah.
I wonder.
I do too. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, with that, guys, remember to like us on Instagram, share us, comment, all that good stuff, and
We're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Spotify, Apple
Instagram,
Podcasts,
YouTube,
so-
thehighlyoriginalpodcast.com.
Yes, that's what we want to. Yes.
Right.
Once again, Mike, what is that?
The highly original podcast.com, where our merchandise can be found, and you can also purchase ad reads, or we have a section on the website to purchase ad space.
There you go. All right, guys, take care.
Have a good one.